My name is Ware, Wendell. I'm the Executive Director of Texas Watch, and for over 20 years, we have been privileged to appear before this committee advocating for policyholders. We focus our efforts on the homeowners and the auto insurance line because those two lines of insurance touch so many of your constituents. Just to give you a sense of the scale, the homeowners market is about $10 billion in premiums, and the auto market is about twice that. It's over $20 billion. So a really large amount of money at stake for a lot of Texas homeowners and drivers. This committee has always done very important work, none more so than this session, because really Texas consumers have been hit with two storms, if you think about it. First is the pandemic and all the financial pressures that your constituents are under right now as a result of the pandemic. And then the second is this winter storm. I say this for the benefit of the governor's staff who may be watching this hearing. We need a commissioner in place at the Texas Department of Insurance. We've not had one for 6 months. We sent a letter to the governor back in September saying that we need at this time a commissioner who has a demonstrated history of working on behalf of consumers because of the financial pressures that everyone is under right now. And you got great testimony today from Mr. Slate. Also from the Office of Public Insurance Counsel, which does really vital work. They are efficient and effective government because they are inside the process advocating for consumers. So can't say enough good things about OPIC. We appreciate from TDI the data call coming out of this winter weather. I think that we need to keep a laser focus on disputes between policyholders and their companies as the weeks and the months drag on for many of them for two reasons. One, we've been hearing for years about problems with the insurance appraisal process. Now, this should be a pre-litigation dispute resolution process where folks can work out their differences over the amount of the loss itself. But we're hearing that some companies game that process. They wait to invoke it until the matter is already deep into litigation. And it's just at that point a way to add additional delay and cost for the homeowner or for the auto policy holder. And so I'm concerned about that. The second big issue for me as I look at this, as we all try to rebuild after the storm, is the effect of House Bill 1774 from the 2017 legislative session. Some of you will remember that legislation. It was characterized at the time as dealing with hailstorms, claims on roofs, but the important thing to know is that that bill applies to snowstorms as well. The term of art in the legislation is forces of nature. We characterized the bill, we opposed the bill as the blue tarp bill because it put impediments in place for people to get the policy benefits that they deserve from their company. One of the main ways that it did that from our perspective is it slashed the prompt pay penalties. You heard one of the previous witnesses talk about the laws that we have on the books that are there. The intent is to get insurance companies to pay up and not just take our premiums, but actually pay our claims. And those penalties were set at 18% as a fixed interest rate through the years, through the decades. But House Bill 1774 slashed it basically in half to a floating rate that right now is right at 10%. So there's less incentive for the insurance companies to pay your claim on time and in full. So I would ask the department to please keep a laser focus on that, keep you informed, keep us informed in the public as to what's happening with disputes. How long is it taking to resolve these claims? What's the delta between the amount that was claimed by the policyholder and the amount that's actually paid by the company at the end of the day? How many of these are having to progress to appraisal or litigation? I think all of that is really important information for you. As I look at the sweep of the insurance market, especially the property casualty insurance market over the last 20 years, essentially consumers are paying more and more each year for less and less coverage. I say that because premiums keep going up. Deductibles have changed by and large from a fixed deductible, which used to be, let's say, $500 on a claim, to now a percentage-based deductible. So now your constituents have to come out of pocket $1,000 or more, depending on how big the claim is. And then we've seen an erosion of water coverage, which of course has a direct relation to this winter storm. We used to, almost all of us in the state used to have a policy called the HOB policy, which actually covered a lot. And that policy has largely vanished from the marketplace as the carriers have gotten their own policy forms adopted. And so I think you're going to get a lot of questions from folks about, I've got this water claim and it's not getting paid. A lot of it is problems with coverage or the insurance companies claiming that that's not covered. The last point I'll make there is we've also seen a shift away from replacement cost policies to what are called actual cash value policies in some corners of the market. ACV policies factor in depreciation. So if you've got a 5-year-old roof or whatever the issue is, you're going to get less money paid back by the insurance company. So this is why these policies that we're paying more for cover less. It's a problem. For those of you who are interested in insurance rates, I know that Representative Middleton had some questions. There is precedent for this body and for the legislature as a whole to direct TDI to do a rate call, to tell all of the companies to file their rates so TDI can look under the hood at all of them, do the deep dive. The bill was Senate Bill 310 from the 78th regular session. That was my first session. I had a lot more hair back then. One thing to keep in mind here with these storms is that your constituents had largely no control over what happened to them here. I mean, we know about the failure of our electricity system, but then our water system also collapsed. In our home in Southwest Austin, we were without water for nearly 5 full days. I know parts of the state still are trying to get water or at least get the boil notices lifted. And so, we were getting conflicting advice, drip your faucets, now don't drip your faucets because we're running out of water. So this is out of their control. One thing that we need to bear in mind here is there's a report card or a rap sheet, if you will, for all of us as policyholders called the CLUE. The CLUE report is the Comprehensive Loss Underwriting Exchange. This is the database that all the insurance companies use to see if you filed a claim. And it follows you as an individual, and it also follows your property for 7 years. That's why I call it the rap sheet. And so I think that we could do some work here to make sure that the claims that are being filed as a result of these storms that your constituents have no control over because of these cascading systems failures not be reported to the CLUE database. People shouldn't be penalized for this storm. The other thing that we need to keep in mind here is the role that credit plays right now within insurance. Your credit score factors heavily into underwriting decisions. So that's when insurance companies are deciding whether to offer you insurance, and then rating, which is how they price the policies. And so we've been hit by the pandemic. People are losing their jobs through no fault of their own. Now people are extra stressed right now because of this winter storm. And so we can look at how to give basically a grace period around the use of credit in insurance. Right now. There's a bill that I think will be referred to this committee, House Bill 1626 from Representative Lucio. It would do a lot of good in this area. But just to give you a sense of the impact that it has, the Consumer Federation of America and Texas Appleseed, 2 great consumer groups who are really leaders on the credit issue, released a report that showed they took a typical policyholder in the auto market, 35 years old, clean driving history, drives a 2011 Honda Civic. And if you move your credit from excellent to fair, you pay 46% more for your insurance. And if you drop from excellent to poor, 90% more on average, nearly doubles. And that's just the average. For some carriers, people would see that rate triple. So that shows you how big of an impact this can have on your constituents. There are questions about resources. We suffered water damage at our office. I spoke with Chairman Oliverson last week while I was literally throwing out waterlogged boxes. But through that time, we snapped into action. We stood up a dedicated website. It's called Storm Help. So if you go to texaswatch.org/Storm Help, it's also up on the main page. We've gathered all these great resources from OPIC, from TDI, from others. So you can get that there. We boiled it down to the top 5 tips. You've heard many of them today from previous witnesses, including on hiring a good contractor, a reputable contractor. And two quick things that I'd leave you as you get questions from your constituents with is take photos, but don't just take photos of the damage, take photos of the surrounding areas, because I've seen this myself professionally. Sometimes insurance companies will say, yes, we see damage, we understand that that's damage, but that's pre-existing damage. That's not related to this event, to this loss. And so now you're in a fight over that. And number two, if plumbers are removing burst pipes from your property, keep them. Keep those burst pipes on site. Tell your constituents that, so that when the adjuster gets out there, you can show them, see, this wasn't a slow leak. This is related to the freeze. This body plays such a unique role. You all actually are the front line for all consumers in this state on insurance because of the McCarran-Ferguson Act, which is a federal law that says that the business of insurance is regulated primarily at the state level. It's reverse preemption. The state here has the most power on insurance. And so we look forward to working with all of you. I hope that you consider us a resource. We're here to help you any way we can, and I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Members, anybody got any question? Ramon?
Mic was already pushed. Thank goodness I wasn't too loud. Wendell, you mentioned auto insurance, and I don't know if anyone's talked about it. Just to enlighten me, what does an average Texas driver pay for uninsured motorist?
You know, I don't know that premium right now. I'd have to look on Help Insure, but we pay a lot. By and large in Texas, we pay a lot for our insurance. One of the most frustrating things in auto right now with uninsured motorist coverage is we pay extra if we want to be extra responsible, and we run into problems with our companies too often because of a bad Supreme Court decision called Brainerd versus Trinity. And that decision basically said that you have to go to court and get a determination in court before your insurance company is on the hook to pay you for your uninsured motorist policy. And there's a bill that Chairman Guerin filed last session. This body voted it out. The House voted out with over 100 votes. We hope that you give it very serious consideration and support this time that would fix that. That would say, Representative Romero, you don't have to go to court. Insurance companies are in the business of adjusting claims. They know how to do this. So assess liability, look at the damages and pay the claim. So that's a great thing. The other thing on auto, Representative Romero, is, and you heard some of this from, I believe, from Ms. Hamilton, we are seeing reduced driving as a result of the pandemic, reduced losses as well. Some estimates show that overcharges may be as high as $600 million in Texas or even more. We've brought this to the attention of the department many times, and the response that we essentially got back is we can only step in and regulate excessive rates when they are, quote, long-term rates. And so I asked the question, well, what does long-term mean? Is it 6 months straight? Is it a year straight? Is it 18 months straight? The answer I got back was, well, we haven't, it's not yet. I can tell you that. It's not this period of time yet. Frankly, that was an unsatisfactory answer. We need the regulator to do their job, the job that you've asked them to do. And so that's some of our concern, that we need a commissioner there who's going to push on behalf of consumers. Listen, we want insurance companies to do well in Texas. I say this as a consumer representative. We want insurance companies to make profits in Texas. We want them to be here. We just don't want them to make excessive profits, because economists will tell you in the insurance market we have what's called inelastic demand. The demand curve is set for these products artificially. This is not a free market because we have to have a homeowner's policy if we have a mortgage. The bank wants us to insure the property. To drive on our roads, we need to have an auto policy. So we're forced to buy these products. That's why we need additional oversight on this line.
But you can't answer for me, because you mentioned $20 billion over homes, $10 billion. And of that, how much of that, I was trying to get an idea for how much of that is due to uninsured motorists, and then potentially how many folks are actually driving that are not insured. I'm not sure if you have information to.
The last time I looked at that, and I will get you specific information, and all of you on the committee, I think we have something on the order of 13 to 15% of our drivers who are uninsured in Texas. I can't tell you discreetly what number of those contribute to the auto losses. TDI would be able to quantify that. They have that information. But everything that I can round up, I will get to you.
Anybody else? Thank you, Mr. Wendell. Thank you.
Yes, good to see you. Thank you.